Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's exciting webinar entitled The Role of Email in the Post-Pandemic Digital Workplace. Before we get started, here are a few important messages. During the webinar, you are welcome to submit questions via the chat window on the screen. We will try to answer the questions at the end of today's webinar. If we don't answer your question, not to worry, a Harmony person will answer you via email. For all those who are wondering, we will make a recording of this webcast available to you within a couple of days. You will get a link via email to the recorded webinar.
So everybody, welcome to today's webinar about the role of email in the post-pandemic workplace. And welcome, Happy New Year to everybody starting out after the holidays. Everybody's back and refreshed. So just briefly to set the stage and to provide some context for today's discussion, 2020 turned out to be the year of working from home. This is obviously no surprise for anybody here. I'm sure most of us here have spent a lot of time unexpectedly working from home. But there are a couple things I'd like to, before we start talking about looking forward, is taking a quick look back at the previous year just to see how we got to where we are. So during the year of the pandemic, folks were sheltering at home, working from home, working remotely. And what happened during the year was that there was an improved infrastructure from working from home. So improved internet connectivity, delivery services for things that people needed. By the end of the year, it became much more comfortable and worth and easy to work from home than it did at the beginning. Of course, businesses also had to accommodate people. Working from home also means working at the kitchen table, working at the in the living room, or in a bedroom where other family members are also sheltering at home, and family responsibilities for watching the children, taking care of things around the house. So we also became used to and developed methods for working under developing flexible arrangements to make it easy to work. Also, some new tools came along, and this is something that we're going to dig into in this webinar, in that the people started being able to use things. People became very adept at using things like Teams or Zoom and other types of communication tools. And what we discovered by the end of the year was that working from remote can be a lot more productive. We've been talking for years about the anytime, any place workplace, digital workplace. But over this year, for more reasons than there's just that there's a necessity to adapt. Things moved a lot quicker. In fact, before we really dug into the complete story of the pandemic, this is already back in April when we were really only about 2 months into this. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said, even at this point, we've seen 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. I guess that when there's a necessity to adapt, people just find ways to work, and that's exactly what happened during this year. And we learned how to do remote teamwork and cover all things like sales and customer service. Being able to do that without sitting together shoulder to shoulder in the office with other folks. Now, what does that mean for us going forward? So, I mean, the vaccine is starting to roll out sometime during the year. Yes? I'm sorry. Sorry.
We have a poll question now. David, do you hear me?
We don't hear you too well.
Okay, so maybe you will read the poll question. I will try to improve the sound.
Okay, let me just make this a bit bigger so I can see the question. So the question here is, we talked about 2020 being working from home. What are your company's plans for working in 2021? Is it continue to be 100% working from home? Will it be mostly working from home with some office time, or mostly back to the office with allowing some remote work, or are there plans to be 100% back in the office once the pandemic blows over? So we'll open the poll to get your responses.
David, do you see the results?
Okay. I do see the results. Okay, so interesting. Interesting is that it's pretty much split between some breakdown between homework and working from the office. Very few people, maybe it says 8%, are going to continue working 100% from home, and it's pretty much 50-50 in terms of with the balance between going back to the work and also continuing to work from home, with 0% saying everyone's going back to the office. That's very, very interesting. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's pretty much in line with what we're seeing with market trends. So I think that's a great step in looking at how we do work going forward in the coming year. So I think this is, what we see from the results from the poll is very much in line with what folks are saying and how people are planning to work. And that is, there's going to be some sort of combination between some continuing from work from home and some return to the office. But I think even with the breakdown of the offices, there's might be a little bit different. So we're starting to see things like people working from satellite offices. So maybe not going back to the full corporate office. During the year, many companies closed offices, but setting up operations in local temporary office space to meet with from time to time, or to meet with customers without necessarily going back to the old corporate office structure. Also, of course, working from customer sites. So there's going to be a lot of remote work, although it won't be necessarily the work from home environment. It will continue to be the remote working environment, but now from multiple locations. I think that's pretty much in line with what the poll results showed. So what are the challenges for this post-pandemic workplace? Not all that different from what we had when people were working remotely from home, and that is really there's three things that from a business perspective that we need to stay on top of. One is we need to stay connected to the business. People are working independently. People are working, as graphically we show here, are pretty much on an island, whether they're together in a satellite office or working at home. We're all separated physically, so that we need to somehow stay connected to the business in a productive and efficient and effective fashion. We need to remain productive. So we did discover that during 2020 that we can be productive using remote tools. We need to, as we start to move around, and it's not just sitting at home anymore, but moving around both to satellite offices, corporate offices, home, customer sites, remaining productive and finding the balance of using the tools in a efficient and effective manner, the tools that we already have and we've become used to using during the year. And we're going to have to remain, I would say, so much more being more self-sufficient, but I think we need to remain self-sufficient and retain the self-sufficiency that we've tried to develop during the 2020 shelter at home, work from home environment. So one of the tools that we're all using is Teams, Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams went from 13 million users in July in 2019 to 115 million users was the most recent numbers given by Microsoft. And most of the people are using Teams for, at this point, virtual meetings. So it's great for being able to connect not only with colleagues, but also being able to connect with partners, suppliers, customers through virtual meetings. We use it a lot. I'm sure the folks on the webinar do the same. There also is some use with chat and conversations, although it is a bit less widespread in terms of usage, but that is starting to grow. And then there's also other features which are not as much used today in Teams, and that is the ability to do things like share files and also embed third-party applications in a Teams environment. A really nice article appeared this week in the Financial Times where Satya Nadella was again interviewed, and he talked about Teams really becoming the kind of the infrastructure, the kind of the go-to app for everything that people need to do, and we're not there yet. Right now, we're still in the stage where most folks are using this for meetings. And we're going to talk during the next few minutes about how we can take advantage of some of the other Microsoft tools that you already have and bring them together in a cohesive fashion so you can be productive and you can connect to the business and be self-sufficient. Because while Teams is great for working outside.
Poll question now?
Ah, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, now we hear you, so go ahead.
Okay. So how do you communicate with external parties like customers, suppliers, or partners? You can select multiple answers: email, Teams chat via guest accounts, Slack, or other app. I see you're still answering, so in a minute we'll see the results. Okay.
Okay, so not all that unexpected. This is kind of what we see in the marketplace. So I think we've got a good representation on the webinar of what's happening out there. 100% of people use email still to communicate with external parties. 83% use Teams chat, which is very high. I think that's we're starting to see some really good adoption. And then there's some other folks using another app. But in the Microsoft world, it looks like it's all email with some usage of Teams via guest accounts, high usage actually, much more than we saw when we ran a similar poll or in 2020. Okay, so back to where we were. So yes, Teams is great for meetings, chats, and conversations. External communications remains in email. So while we did see in the poll that 83% of people are using guest accounts, there are some limitations to using guest accounts with Teams. So for example, when you bring people in as guests, the communications all the communications reside in your own tenant. So if you sever those relationships, basically the information remains with one of the two parties. So it's good for communicating with partners or customers when you're doing maybe transactional type emails about sharing information or asking questions. When it comes to things that are more have a more important staying power, so things that are more important to have a record of. So if you share, for example, proposals or contracts, or you have questions that have a legal nature or a governance nature, these are things that are not really good to share in Teams chats because only one party retains the official record. So when it comes to e-discovery or audits or just looking back at history, it's not very easy to get access to that information. And that's why email will remain the main avenue for communications with partners and customers and suppliers for those types of communications for really the foreseeable future. There really is no, doesn't seem like there's any plan or venue to move this forward in the sense of coalescing these two platforms. And this is where the challenge really comes in, because when you work with email and you're exchanging more business information through email with partners and customers and suppliers, and you're using the Teams channels more for chat and kind of informational type communications, what you end up with is disconnected business conversations. So you have partial communication in Teams, partial communication in Outlook, and then when you try and piece together what's actually happening with a business initiative. So for example, if I'm working with a customer on a contract, they send out a proposal, we're going back and forth on the conditions, we're passing around the document internally to get information inputs, feedback, edits, red lines before we send it back, and then we send it back and forth. We really end up with two parallel conversations going on here, and that becomes very difficult to manage particularly when you don't have the physical proximity to your partners, when you can go out and actually talk to them in your even within your company, to be able to talk to them and ask them face to face. Second problem is particularly as this starts to information starts to move across different places, is finding that information across Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Outlook. This is a well-known problem, and Microsoft is making great strides in providing good search. One of the questions, though, is providing the context. Can you find in the context of what you're doing now? If you're in an email, if you're in a document, looking for a document, can you find the information across the different platforms directly from the place where you are now? And I think there's still this is still a huge challenge for people that needs to be addressed if we want to meet the business requirements, which again are remaining productive, staying connected to the business, and being self-sufficient. So just to very quickly, some of the cases where these types of things, these types of engagements, maybe the folks on the call can on the webinar can relate to this. Things like account management or customer service or customer support, project management, sales. These are all types of engagements where there's a lot of activity, both with customers or suppliers, and also a lot of internal activity. So oftentimes the external activity is happening in email. Customer will send a question about a contract or a proposal. The internal communications, the internal deliberations occur in Teams, and connecting those two conversations becomes very difficult. And there are a number of sample industries where these tend to be more prevalent, but these really appear in many different industries as well. So the other part of we said is finding information and being self-sufficient. So part of this is getting help from colleagues as well as finding information, is being able to reach out in the context of the task at hand and to be able to ask the questions and get the input that we need. And what I'd like to do is, rather than and talk about this a lot, is because I think we all can relate to this, is to actually look at how this is done with Teams and Outlook today and see how we can make this better without introducing new infrastructure tools. Using Teams and Outlook, how can we make this procedures, these flows, much smoother and get everybody on the same page? So this is what we do. Harmony has a suite of products. I will talk about these briefly, and then actually show a demo of how we connect Outlook and Teams in a smooth flow, so that you can focus on the business rather than on finding information and where to ask for help. But just briefly, for those of you who are not familiar with the Harmony product, there's a Harmony product is a sidebar that resides in Outlook, and what you can do is drag and drop documents and emails directly to SharePoint, or now directly to Teams channels, where they will appear in conversations, and I'll show you how this works. Once they are located in SharePoint or in the Teams channels, you can very easily find that information while you're in the context of an email conversation. So if you're talking to a customer and you want to find a document, a proposal that was stored in a centralized location, whether it's OneDrive, SharePoint, or Teams, you can search for that right in the Outlook window, find it, send a link, and provide share capabilities if you are enabled to do that in your company, or send an attachment from the centralized document without having to go and look for it in the web browser. So that's really important. There's this search, being able to search across SharePoint and Teams, and I'll show how this works. So I won't spend too much time on this particular slide, but I think it's good for a leave behind. After the webinar, folks want to review how this works. Basically, in the sidebar, there's a search box that you can pick the search term. You can search also by email fields. So if you store an email in SharePoint, we actually can do the email header mapping and turn that into metadata. So you can search by to, from, subject line automatically. You can also search by metadata. It's a new feature that we've introduced, so that you can specify a metadata field, type text that you're looking for, and also set the search scope. So you can set the search scope whether you're in SharePoint or in Teams based on the library, the site, or the Teams or the specific channel. And I'll show this. It's easier. I say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So rather than 1,000 words, I'll just show you the picture in the actual application in just a moment. So that's one product. Product one is an Outlook plugin. That's our traditional product. Thousands of customers using that product today. What we've recently introduced is a new product, a companion product to that initial one, which is called Email Teammate. This is a Teams app that plugs into your Teams setup. And what it allows you to do is to pull emails directly from Outlook into a Teams conversation, whether it's in a chat or a team or a meeting anywhere, to be able to have that conversation directly in context of the conversation, including the email. So the example that you see here is I'm in the middle of a conversation and I want to pull in this email where I have the proposal and a project budget that somebody sent me. I can literally click on a button, pull the email into the conversation, and have that conversation in the team without losing context, without having to toggle between email, between Outlook and Teams. This is a fantastic capability. I'll show how this works and explain how you can get your hands on this literally today. So actually, rather than show this in the slide, I'm going to go right ahead and go into a demo because it'll be much easier to see this in action. So what you see in front of you right now is should be familiar to everyone. This is my Outlook window. What you'll see on the right side of the screen is the Harmony sidebar, and the Harmony sidebar, what I'm looking right now is at my favorites view, but I can literally see any of my SharePoint or Teams Teams and channels or my OneDrive. So all my shared document space is visible directly in the Outlook window. This is fantastic, and I'll explain how this works. So if I have an email that I received from Harmon, let me see the one from Samuel. So I got an email, and I want to bring this. I want to bring this into a Teams conversation. Literally, what I can do is I can just drag the email across. I hover over the accounts, and because this email goes, it's related to the Glory Incorporated deal that we're working on. I literally just hover over that and drop it onto that channel. So these are the channels associated with that. I already done this, so that copy already exists there, and it's asking me if I want to duplicate it, which is fine. And once that email and document are uploaded, now I can, without having to lose context, I can add a post. So I can say, hi guys, let me just add some other folks here. So I want to let Fred know about this because I know he's working on some stuff. So I want to make him aware of the email and the attachment, and then I do post, and then the email and the documents attachments immediately get posted to Teams. I can continue in Teams, so I click on the continue in Teams button, and when that happens, what happens is I'm literally taken to the place in my Teams environment where I see that the post, I just added the post here, and I see the documents and the email embedded directly into that conversation. So it's fantastic ability to, whether if I'm in Outlook and in the context of communicating externally with a customer and I get a question, I can push that email and that question directly into a conversation that I'm having in the Teams conversation within the channel where that conversation is taking place. Conversely, if I'm in this channel already and I'm having a conversation about this deal, so maybe we'll just go to another channel here, and let's see, maybe let's just open another channel. So we're having a conversation here about another deal that's going on, and somebody's asking about, there's an email here, what do you think? And what I want to do is I want to reply. Let me just add what I want to do is I want to introduce a new email into this conversation to let other people on my team know what's that I have a question that's going on here. So what you see here is underneath the text line, there's a bunch of icons. One of them is the email teammate. And when I click on the email teammate, this is our second part of the Harmony suite. It is, by the way, included in the license. If you're a Harmony customer, you get both products for the same price. It also is available as a separate product by itself if you only want this component, and I'll explain in a moment how you can get that. So when I click on that button, what I do is I can get access to email. So if I want to add an email to the Teams conversation, I can literally just click on that on the button, and what I will see, the demo demons always kick in. So what it does is when I click on the button, I see my inbox. So this is my inbox from Outlook, and I can, of course, go to other email, other mailboxes. So it's not just my inbox, but I see the current folder. I can also do a search by people, search by content, and look for the email that that I'd like to add to this conversation. So I can say, click on this email, it has an attachment. I say, okay, I want to add this to it, and literally just click on share. And when I click on the share button, the email gets and the document get uploaded to the conversation, and I can continue the conversation in the context of what I was talking about before introducing the email. So as you'll see here, the email appears embedded directly in line with the conversation. You'll also note that there's buttons here that say reply, reply all, and show full email. When I include this conversation, when I include this email into the conversation, what's great is that somebody else on my team can now reply to it. So let's take an example of where this would be helpful. Say I'm working with a customer, and the customer sends me an email that says, I've got some legal questions, some financial questions, and I'm the account manager, and I get that email and I say, I really don't know what to do with this. I need some help from folks on my team. So what I do is I include the email like I did here into the conversation, and now we can have a conversation. I can have a conversation with my colleagues. Again, we're working from home, we're working from remote offices. These people are located in different locations. So it's not, I just can't walk across the aisle or step into someone's office and ask them. But this is a perfect way to use Teams in conjunction with Outlook to fulfill a very common business practice, which is working with customers, answering customers' questions, providing customers with proposals, contracts, other sorts of business information that they require. Other people now can weigh in. We can have a conversation right here in the channel. And when somebody wants to answer, they literally can just click on this reply button. And what happens is the email is launched. So the email is client is launched in context. So usually it's somebody else who will reply to this email. So when you click on that button, they will see the email client launched, and they can answer that email directly without having. And once they answer the email, they close the window. They go right back to the Teams conversation. So they don't lose context. They stay focused on what they were doing. And this is really what's really great about what Harmony does is that whether you're in Outlook and you have to move information into Teams and continue the conversation there, or you're in Teams and you want to pull information from Outlook, it's very seamless. Wherever you are, you can move information back and forth without losing context, without having to move and toggle between the two applications. And that's really where the value is. If you're at home and you're trying to be productive and self-sufficient, it's very easy to be able to get the information you need, share the information you need, get help from people. You can take an email, put it in a conversation, and ask people what their opinion is or what you should do. Get help from colleagues. Very much using the tools that you already have. You're starting to use Teams And of course, everybody's using Outlook. So this is really the business value of what Harmony provides, and it's quite a powerful proposition. What I just want to talk about is we talked about two different types of things that you need to be self-sufficient. One is you need to be able to get help from people. So we showed you how you can include emails in Teams conversations and ask for help. That helps you also be productive. The other thing that you need to be productive and self-sufficient, particularly self-sufficient, is to be able to search for information. So if you have lots of information floating around in centralized locations like SharePoint or Teams, where do you get that in? Where do you find that information? So what we've added now is a fantastic capability in the Harmony sidebar product is a new search capability. So what I can do is, while I'm looking at an email and I'm in the focus of email, I can literally just highlight the bar, the text bar at the top, and you'll see at the bottom I can do search. So of course I can do a text search. That's nothing new. But I also now have the capability to do a search. If I want to search for an email, we do the email to the email header mapping. So automatically, if you drag an email like I did before into the sidebar, into a SharePoint location, you can, so maybe just take a step back here. So one of the things I showed before was the ability to drag a conversation into a Teams conversation, an email into a Teams channel. There's also the ability to drag emails into SharePoint locations. So for example, let me just find the location here. Oops. So if I want to drag an email into a location, I can take, say, an email and drag it into a share. This is a SharePoint location. And when I do that, if there's required metadata, so I'm prompted for the metadata right here. So you'll see the fields with the red dots are ones with metadata. The other fields are not necessarily required, but they also provide, we also provide the capabilities here for pull downs, text fields, fields that you can select from. And this really helps people classify and the documents so that you can find them later on. So important documents like contracts and proposals, legal documents, financial documents, we make it very easy, again, while you're in Outlook, to drag and drop these into a sidebar so that they are classified accurately. As part of that classification process, as I started to mention before, what we do is we allow you to, we do the automatic header mapping. So if you drag an email in, we can automatically associate the from, to, subject, CC, all those fields directly with metadata, so that when you want to search for them later on, and I'll show you a quick search how this works. So if I want to search for an email that I sent, I can literally go here. I can say the subject was about tests that we did, and then when I click on it, I say, okay, I can find all those emails that have the subject was had something with test in it. Now, this is searching in, one of the things I showed here is that it's searching in the current site, but I can also extend that site, the search scope, to a broader scope. So down at the bottom, I can extend the search scope to all locations. Now I see that I've got a lot more email messages in other locations, and I can see exactly where these locations are just by extending the search scope. This works for SharePoint. It also works for Teams. So you'll see if I do a search in a Teams location, so I can say maybe look for all the PDF files in this this location. Here it doesn't show me sites or libraries. It knows it's a team, so now it'll allow me to do all locations, all teams and groups. If I'm in the context of an actual channel, and I do the same, type of search, so I do a file extension PDF, you'll see that I can do this, look in the current channel, current team, all teams and groups, all locations. So I can really have a very flexible and very powerful search mechanism directly in the sidebar, so that I'm looking for important documents. Finding information is really difficult, and we have a lot of powerful tools to be able to do that. There's some other tools that we have here, certainly things like navigation, so I can go back. There's capabilities of doing very nice types of views. So we support all sorts of views. I can see things like an email view will show me all the emails that I have. You can create new views, and either for yourself or for the teams. You can create a view and save it. There's also the ability to do filtering. So you can filter by columns, and really quite a wide array of navigation and search tools for finding information very quickly without having to ask people for where the latest version is, or spending a lot of time just hunting for them through text, just simple text searches. Okay, so that's a very brief demo of the actual product. Let me go back, just give you some information about how you can get your how you can get a hold of these things today. So as I mentioned, there's two products that we have. There's the Harmony Outlook, that's the Harmony sidebar, and the new product, the Email Teammate, which is an app that runs in Teams. So it's available from the Microsoft App Store. You can download that product or install that product directly from the app source. It sells for $2.50 per user per month, but there is a free trial that you can install this today. So right after this webinar, if you, even within Teams, click on the apps button and do a search for Email Teammate, you can install that product and try it today. And you can share 10 emails for free, and then there's a way to subscribe directly through the app itself. If you're an existing Harmony customer and you have the Harmony sidebar, the Outlook sidebar, this new product is included in your subscription. It's a new product that was not available before, but now it's available as part of your existing subscription at no extra cost. And the way you get a hold of that is through our the Harmony website download area. So if you go to the Harmony website and click on download, if you're an existing customer, there's an area that you can go into where you can apply for a coupon, and the coupon explains how you then use the coupon to install the Email Teammate for all your employees in your company. Maybe just a quick word of what's coming next from Harmony. I know folks on the call, if you're following a lot of what's happening at Microsoft, is doing some extraordinarily exciting work around SharePoint Syntex, being able to classify information automatically using managed metadata fields, and applying some artificial intelligence for that automatic classification. So Syntex allows you to automatically classify metadata, and there's some great examples on the Microsoft website showing how this is done for things like invoices, categorizing content, and for compliance uses, so that information can be classified accurately. We at Harmony always have believed that the key to finding information is to capturing it and classifying it accurately. Syntex is going a long way to making that simple for companies who've struggled for years to get people to put the effort in to classify the information accurately. And that's what Harmony will be doing during 2021. We'll be supporting Syntex by surfacing the managed metadata fields in the sidebar, so that you'll be able to literally click on the topic, very much like we showed in the search, where you can search by metadata. So you'll be able to, instead of doing a search, we'll show you the metadata field values. You'll be able to click on them and very easily find related information across Microsoft 365, whether it's emails, documents that have matching metadata fields. So consider it, if you have information organized by these topics that are done automatically through Syntex, Harmony will include those capabilities of making it easy to find that information, thereby bolstering and our value proposition, which again is making it easy to find information quickly, so you can focus on work, being productive, being self-sufficient, and working with connecting to the business and focusing on business tasks rather than manipulating technology. So that's it in a nutshell. There's two ways to get the products. The email teammate. There's a QR code and a link here that you can install it. There's a brief description at this website that describes the product. You can also try a Harmony Enterprise trial at the at this site, or use the QR code. And Maya, maybe that's the last question. We can also get you set up automatically, and maybe you take it away.
Okay, so if anyone here would like to get a coupon for the free license of Email Teammate, please let us know and we will help you.
Okay.
I see that people are still answering, so in a minute I will close the poll.
All right, very good.
Okay. Okay, David, do you want to move to the questions?
Yeah, so let's maybe ask them. I mean, there's one question in particular that I was going to ask here. Someone is asking if the Harmony One subscription is the same as the Harmony Outlook client. The answer is generally yes. There are some customers who have only a Harmony Outlook license. We have what's called the Harmony One license. That's our general license that supports all the platforms that we have. So also the Outlook web app, which we didn't show in this product in this webinar today. But if you have a Harmony One license, that covers all the Harmony products. There is a small number of customers who are only licensed to use the Harmony Outlook. So I suggest we can look in specifics with your, if anyone has that question, directly with sales to determine eligibility to the Email Teammate license. You want to ask, there's some other questions, Maya?
Yeah, okay. So the next question is, how does a colleague reply to an email directly from Teams?
Okay, so maybe just go back to this. I'll show this again briefly. If I go back to the Teams window, so I posted this, so I won't reply from here directly, but a colleague would sees this button, and there's an email, so it says who the email is from. Has the attachment. When that person clicks on that email window, what it does is it will open up the Outlook web app with the proper context, with all the fields filled out, and the person would be able to literally just send the emails. You can reply to the person who sent it, reply to all, to show the full email. Again, being able to close the loop on customer questions, customer requests, customer inquiries directly from Teams without having to toggle back and forth between Teams and Outlook.
Thank you, David. Another question is, when will the Syntex Harmony functionality be available?
So we don't have a specific date yet. It will be during 2021. Harmony is a leading partner in the Microsoft Content Services partnership, which is built quite a bit around this year around Syntex and Cortex. We are leading the charge in terms of supporting the latest and greatest stuff coming out from Microsoft. As you can see from our value proposition, we're all about making the tools that you have from Microsoft very easy for typical business users to take advantage of without having to toggle between them to figure out where the right place to put the information or find the information. Wherever you are, that's where you want to work, and that's what helps people be self-sufficient and productive. And we're going to continue working with Microsoft to embed the latest and greatest capabilities, including Syntex, during 2021.
Thank you, David. We have one more question for today. I'm a Harmony customer. How can we get Email Teammate?
Okay. So it's similar to the first question we had. If you are a Harmony customer, you can go to the Harmony website, click on download. You'll get to a page that has a column that shows you what we call the download area. that takes you directly to the area where you can retrieve the coupon. When you do that, and you install the email teammate, as the installation process, there's a component where you can enter a coupon and enable the licenses for all the number of Harmony licenses that you have, and then provision it out to your users. If you need assistance with this, we'd be happy to work with you. There's great documentation on the website as well, but it's a very simple procedure.
Thanks, David, for a great presentation, and thank all of you for joining us today. You will receive an email with a link to view this webinar again within a couple of days, and we look forward to meeting you at our next webinar. Goodbye.